All right. If you watch movies and have been paying attention to movie news, you may or may not know that we're kind of at the tail end of Star Wars The Last Jedi season. The movie came out in December, made a truckload of money, and is still in theaters because it made so much. So financially, it's very successful, but when it comes to fan reactions, it's kind of divided. A lot of people love it, and a lot of people did not like it. And I'm one of the people who didn't like one part of it, and that was the treatment of Luke Skywalker. I made a video about that, which I'll put a card to so you'll understand. I made a whole rant. Well, not really a rant, but just about why I didn't like what they did with Luke Skywalker in that movie. And I am not alone in that opinion, because for a lot of people who didn't like Star Wars The Last Jedi, one of the reasons a lot of them didn't like it is because of how Luke Skywalker was handled in that movie. The writer-director of Star Wars The Last Jedi, Rian Johnson, and Kathleen Kennedy, the big producer over all the Star Wars movies right now, they should have taken a lesson from the people who made Logan, right? Because there's similarities, but Logan did everything that better with their iconic legendary character, Logan, the Wolverine himself, that Star Wars The Last Jedi didn't do with their iconic legacy character, Luke Skywalker. And I will explain. First, I guess I have to begin by saying what happened with Star Wars The Last Jedi and why it was wrong. Now, in Star Wars The Last Jedi, the movie, even though it had a lot of characters, it was really, I think, about Luke and his losing hope, his becoming depressed and cynical. He basically, my perception of him is that he was a broken older hero, like an old war hero who, because of a lot of horrible life experiences and the toll of being a Jedi and fighting the Empire and other fights over the years, had kind of crushed his spirit. And that wasn't a bad thing to do with his character. However, I don't think the movie did a good job setting that up before we got it. It was very rushed and quick. We were just supposed to accept that Luke was like this. And it was a stark contrast to the way a lot of people remembered Luke Skywalker from the original trilogy in the late 70s and early 80s. Luke Skywalker is he was the first Jedi superhero, action hero in the Star Wars universe. And one of the things people like about Star Wars movies is that it has people with, light swords, the lightsabers, and awesome, force powers with their minds. And in all the movies, the novelizations, the video games, the comic books, that's one of the reasons, maybe the main reason why people like Star Wars. And he was the first, and maybe today still the most popular and iconic person with those powers, other than Darth Vader, the big villain. But he was the dark side. On the light side, the biggest one is Luke. And so in the original 3 movies, Luke was the one who would have all these great, Jedi, fight scenes, swinging his sword, doing all this acrobatic stuff and everything like that. And so when they did this new recent trilogy, this follow-up, everyone was waiting for Luke Skywalker to return to his full glory, get a lot of great action scenes, and all that stuff. And he came back for the first time, fully realized in The Last Jedi, and Rian Johnson and Kathleen Kennedy didn't give us any of that. They had him mope around for the whole movie for the most part. I mean, he got character depth and stuff, but he didn't get any action scenes until he got one at the end. And it was this half-hearted action scene where he was projecting a Force ghost from a distant planet. It wasn't really him. And then he dies, or appears to die. Now, that Force ghost projection was cool because it showed how powerful he was, because he could project a realistic-looking hologram or ghost of himself from another planet, which takes a lot of power. But that shouldn't have been the only thing we got that showed how awesomely powerful Luke Skywalker was in that movie. He should have had 3 or 4 awesome Jedi lightsaber fight scenes, fighting the bad guys, as the veteran superhero of the Star Wars universe, fighting alongside the other characters and all that kind of stuff. And they didn't give us that, and that's one of the things that disappointed a lot of people with Star Wars The Last Jedi. Now, Logan did this much better, and that's why people like Logan more, well, a lot of people, than they like Star Wars The Last Jedi. Because Logan took Wolverine, the X-Men movie's biggest action physical hero. You know, he's got his claws, he's slashing people. People expect Wolverine to be that and to have all these awesome fight scenes. And even though in Logan he was a depressed older man who'd been broken, they still gave him fight scenes. There were a lot of Wolverine action scenes in Logan. And that's what Star Wars The Last Jedi should have done with Luke. If they wanted to have him be a broken and depressed older man, that's fine. I mean, I think a lot of people would have had a problem even with that, but they wouldn't have had as big of a problem if Luke had been a depressed older hero with some fight scenes. You know, he, in the middle of the action, in the thick of things, fighting people, beating them up, instead of moping around. He gets milk from alien goats and is like moping around with Rey, and it's like, this is not what we want to see Luke Skywalker do after like 30 years of not being around. We hoped, or we were promised, or we thought we were promised, I guess we were wrong, that Luke would come back and be this awesome larger-than-life hero once again, like before, and they, you know, the people running the Star Wars universe purposely didn't give us that. And we felt cheated and shortchanged. Logan didn't cheat us. It certainly did show us our hero. He wasn't exactly in glory or anything. He was depressed and he was fallen, but he was still, you know, an awesomely competent fighter. It still knew that it was an action movie and that it had to serve its main character, who was an action hero, by giving him action scenes. And Star Wars The Last Jedi, Rian Johnson didn't understand that, or he didn't care. And Kathleen Kennedy, you know, they didn't understand or didn't care. They had Luke, the first big action hero of the Star Wars universe. They had him come back and didn't give him any action. That was terrible. I mean, it was a mistake. I mean, if I had written and directed Star Wars The Last Jedi or been the producer on it, I would have been like, look, if we want to make him depressed and, you know, losing hope, we still have to acknowledge the fact that he's Star Wars' first great action hero, and we need to give him some scenes where he's fighting people with his lightsaber, which is because that's what the audience wants and expect from this character, given what they've seen of him before. And that, I think, is the lesson that Star Wars The Last Jedi's creators should have learned from Logan. Well, I mean, they should have already known it, because I would think it's pretty obvious, like anyone could have understood that's what they were supposed to do. So it's shocking that they didn't do it or didn't want to do it. And I think that if they had done that, then the audience would have responded a lot better. More people in the audience would have responded better to The Last Jedi. I know a lot of people love The Last Jedi, and it still made more than $1 billion. But I think we wouldn't be seeing some of the backlash that we're seeing if they had done a better job with the character of Luke Skywalker in that movie. And I think if you want to look to how you do it right, when you want to show a great hero who's fallen, but is still an action hero, despite the fact that he's depressed and mopey, watch Logan and see what they did with Wolverine. That's what they should have done with Luke in Star Wars The Last Jedi if they wanted that movie to go over well with fans. If they cared about it going better over with fans. Thank you for watching. If you want to watch me make more videos about movies and TV shows, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. I appreciate your viewership. Thank you so much, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.